Test. Testing 1, 2. 2, 4. 2024. Well, I guess I'm a slow learner. I had a hard time as a child learning how to tie my shoe. I couldn't do the single bow. And I remember talking to my mom about it, mentioning it to her, saying, I had a hard time tying my shoe as a kid. Do you remember? She said, yeah. She was laughing. You know who taught me how to tie my shoe with a double bow was your son, my brother. And she laughed. She goes, yeah, I remember. Well, for whatever reason, I seem not to make it early to see my parents. I usually make it there either before supper, and I end up leaving when supper happens. And it was that time again. It was 4:30, and I was like, well, supper's at 5:30. It's not going to give me much time with them, so I decided to wait till they were done supper, and I go, well, I'll have a coffee. I'll have a coffee here in Beamsville, where my parents are at. Joy Cafe, I believe it's called. Well, I walked in after talking to a friend on the phone for a while about trying to create music and put it on Spotify. So I walked in, ordered a coffee, and I was hungry, and I was, well, any sandwiches that's gluten-free? Girl behind the counter was like, no. I said, well, I see a cake here. There's 2 cakes, they're gluten-free. Have you ever tried these cakes? She said, yeah, I tried the Louise's cake. I said, oh. I looked at the emerald cake, and I said, well, the emerald cake's got a fig. She goes, yeah, that's good. My boss likes that. I said, well, maybe I'll flip a coin. I just remember that now. I didn't dig up a coin or not of what cake to get. I decided to go with the emerald cake. And she gave me the coffee and the cake, and I sat there by the counter. Facing outside, there was a window. And I'm sipping my coffee, having my cake. And I noticed something glistening outside. It's a dime. I was like, it's a dime. I went outside just immediately, and I picked it up off the table. Went back inside, I put it in the tip jar. I said, here, I found this dime. She says, you can have the dime. I said, no. Well, there's a story that someone told me, and I later told her the story of a person in a dollar store as I was with my father just after my brother died. And I noticed a dime on the ground. I picked it up. I thought it belonged to him. I said, this is your dime. He said, no. It's for you. A loved one is thinking of you. And then later he said his wife passed away a few weeks ago of cancer. And I said, yeah, my brother passed away as well. I said, you sure you don't want the dime? He says, no, it belongs to you. I mentioned that to this lady. I said, hey, I sat back down, I got my notepad and started writing away. of this experience that I just had. And then two ladies walked in, they were speaking Spanish, and I interrupted them. Well, I didn't really interrupt them, but I said, "You speak Spanish?" She says, "Yes." I said, "Oh, I speak a poquito más. I would like to learn." And she says, "Well, you can." And I said, "I'm a slow learner, though." And I think she said, "I'm patient," or I think I mentioned, I said, I need someone who's really patient. And I sat back down. And then she later told me that she lived in Mexico, and she's just adjusting to her life in Canada. And I asked her about that, and she said, well, her friend that was close to her best friend passed away shortly before she moved to Canada. And so I guess we shared a little bit there of love. Well, I wrote this. Wooden fork, cardboard box, sun setting, Spanish being spoken from the corner of my peripheral sight, dropping a dime in the tip jar. Patient teacher for the slow learner. Time moving coffee, ink running low, twilight scratch. Good night.